All right, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even tell Frank this because it slipped my mind, but we were the Spin Rate Cast Pod. We are now the baseball only show because we only talk about baseball. Make it simpler for the audience and the algorithm. So baseball only, hashtag baseball only. We have a movement going on, throughout card breaks and this show. We have a tremendous amount of support for a new channel. 400 subs almost. Probably 400 by the time the weekend is up. Tremendous growth. I appreciate it so much. Frank, you want to say something?
Excellent. I dig the new name. Thanks everybody for the support. I'm loving seeing comments. I've showed some episodes to friends, and I've got positive feedback so far. So, yeah, thanks for supporting the show so far. Again, as always, if you want something for us to talk about, or any comments that make the show better, or something you just want to hear about in future shows, let us know. But thanks so much so far for support.
Yep, and I'm dealing with a little bit of allergies, so if you see me go off camera, it's for me to blow my nose or get a tissue. I don't want you guys to see that on camera. I'd rather you see an avatar. So, breaking news last night after the Yankees and Mets game basically ended, right? It was like 10, 15 minutes after their game had ended. Yankees obviously lost last night in a close game. They were in that game. They lost it. The bullpen's been taxed. We'll talk about that. But they did make a move. And Frank, what was the first thing I texted you? What did I say when you shared the news of Andrew Benintendi coming to New York?
Right. I believe you said, I'll pull it up right now just to be sure. I'm pretty sure I remember what you said. You said, and I quote, "I'm a genius."
Yes. I have a knack. Now, obviously you can only take me on my word for this one, right? Because you can go back to the first episode of this show and we're looking at potential fits for the Yankees. And I said Benintendi is the perfect fit. The only caveat since this show has started is his vaccination status, which is still up in the air. We got reports saying that he would waive it, but then today he comes out saying he's, comfortable maybe doing it. So I don't know. I think this actually hurt the Royals in terms of the compensation they were going to get for the player. And this helped the Yankees because they basically didn't care about his vaccination status because they don't see themselves playing in Toronto during the playoffs, which right now Toronto would be in the playoffs. So I don't. That's my only caveat for this whole trade is his vaccination status, because I would hate to see us not being able to use him in Toronto and have to use whoever else is on our depth chart. Frank, your thoughts on the move? The thoughts of my genius. I called this one. I called the Gallo. I've called many over since I've known you. Obviously, we can only prove this one, but you could take Frank on his word. I'm 90% accurate in who the Yankees get in trades, and I'm almost exact on compensation, almost to the T. Frank, the floor is yours. Have at it.
Yeah, definitely. You can take my word for it, as you said. Obviously, we're going back to the first episode. We discussed this. It's funny. We both had this in our minds even before we discussed it on the air. We discussed it off air. We thought it was a perfect fit. I still do. They didn't give up much. They gave up a couple of pitching prospects. Only one of them was like in the top 20, I believe, something like that. Nothing too crazy. I think I do agree. His haul might have taken a hit with the not being able to travel to Toronto stuff. Obviously, the Yankees aren't worried that much about it if they made the move anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess we'll see where that goes. But just on the surface, it's a huge improvement in the as far
Top of
as
the lineup.
top of the lineup. Yeah, you got a pure contact hitter that has power potential. Obviously, he's not swinging for the fences, but he can probably poke a few out of the stadium. But a guy that gets on base, actually, a guy that's there to get on base and actually gets on base is a big plus.
Yeah.
Going back to what Gallo was acquired for in the first place, he got on base a lot, and he hasn't been doing that. Yeah, the fact that they didn't give up too much for him, it's like a win-win. If it doesn't pan out, he's a rental. It's not a good fit. He'll be gone by the end of the year anyway. Obviously, I don't think we're. Yeah, I mean, as far as the first move, it's just fine. It's a good fit. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more to talk about. We know they're not done looking or attempting to make moves here. So, for first big move of the trading period right now, it's a good solid move. I'm sure he'll improve the lineup one way or the other.
Yep. I'm just gonna pull up his stat line here on the screen for the viewers. And basically 2016 he had a cup of coffee in the majors. 2017 was his full rookie year, same as Aaron Judge. I believe Benintendi finished third in rookie of the year that year. He showed his most power, 20 homers. Obviously the power has dipped. 2020 you throw out because he was injured and it was the 60 game COVID year. Like that season there should be an asterisk next to that season. And it's unfortunate because that's the season the Dodgers actually won the World Series. All the great Dodger teams we've seen, and that was the one that won the World Series. Last year had a bounce back kind of season. This year he's hitting for a high average on base, but the slugging is not there because he only has 3 home runs. So the only thing that does worry me is that he's not hitting for power. I just hope he doesn't become a double play machine. That is my only concern with him. He's going to be able to play. In the outfield, he's a Gold Glove winner in the outfield. He's going to make, anyone can make more contact than Joey Gallo right now. Stevie Wonder can make more contact than Joey Gallo right now. There was a stat that I saw yesterday, and I forgot to share this with you. Aaron Judge has 38 home runs. Okay, he's got 38 home runs. A home run's a hit. For the entire season, this season, 2022, Joey Gallo has 37 hits. That's how historically bad this season has been for Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo, nice guy. Not good for us, not good for our lineup. The best thing we could do for him is send him elsewhere to finish out the second half of, the postseason stretch for another team, and hopefully he can recoup some of the value that he has lost. I do love this trade because, like I said previously, the Yankees got Benintendi for a song and dance. They gave up their number 19 prospect, a number 21 prospect, and an unranked prospect, all pitching prospects. And Lord knows if the Yankees needed pitching, they would have called up one of their minor league pitchers. None of these guys were even on the radar. So these guys are all projects. which leads me to the discussion of what are some other trade targets for them. There's one that just would be a perfect fit. We discussed this off air. It's been talked about by many. David Robertson coming back to New York just seems like the perfect fit. He could slide right back into the bullpen, be a seventh or eighth inning guy, maybe the eighth inning guy at this point, considering King is gone. We don't know what we're going to get of Loizaga, and we don't know what we're going to get with Britton coming back either. So you have Robertson in that defined eighth inning role, even maybe pitching in the seventh, because it seems like they're stretching Clay Holmes to be the 4-out, 5-out closer, which I don't like, because anytime you do that, the closer, it's a different mindset. They did this with Chapman, and then Chapman started falling apart. Pitch them in their designated innings. The ninth, don't stretch them beyond their means. So not giving up these key prospects. A reliever is not going to cost you any top prospects because they're relievers. We could probably get David Robertson for an unranked bat or a top 25 prospect bat in our farm system. The Cubs would probably do it. They probably respect Robertson enough to hey, the Yankees want you back. What do you think? Cool. Let's make the deal happen. Boom, boom, bam. He's back in pinstripes. He's got the World Series ring. He played on the 09 team. He's played in and pitched in high leverage games already. Perfect fit. Now we have all of these prospects that we can then turn and get some of our other targets we talked about. Luis Castillo, Frankie Montas. We can even add another outfield bat. We can probably get David Peralta. The other name that intrigues me, and I don't know why it intrigues me, because I don't think he's pitched really well this year, because the team's done terrible, is Noah Syndergaard. Your thoughts, Frank? What do you think? I said a lot to digest. Break it down. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, as you said, holding on to all our top prospects right now, there's several moves that can be made. Robertson's like a slam dunk of a move. It won't cost you much, and I don't think he'll have trouble coming back here and fitting in wherever Boone needs him. He's obviously played here before. He's played with several of his current would-be current teammates, so I don't think that'll be a problem. That's pretty much a done deal in my mind. Obviously, Castillo, Montas, these are big names out there. I do think they're going to try really hard to get either one of them, or perhaps even both. I don't know. Depends on the haul. As far as under the radar moves, you bring up Syndergaard. That's an intriguing move. They have been interested in him in the past. I mean, it was about four or so years ago. I think they were at least talking to the Mets about.
Even this past offseason, I believe, too.
Offseason. Hey, there's worse guys to take a chance on than a guy that's already been a top quality pitcher in recent times, and he's still relatively young.
Yeah, I actually have his stat line up for this year. I will present it. He's actually done much better than I thought he was doing, because you're going to be enamored with how the team is doing, and then you're looking at win-loss. But I'll show you the stat line here. We'll show the audience the stat line. It should be coming up momentarily. Noah Syndergaard this year, he's 5-8, a 3.83 ERA, 15 games started, 80 innings pitched, 64 strikeouts, 1.21. So he's an above average pitcher in the American League. And this is his first time in the American League. He's pitched exclusively in the National League. And he's pitched on a team that's been out of contention since the month of April. Behind Shohei, he's definitely been their number 2. The thing is with him, we know he can pitch in New York. He's done it. He's pitched in big games in New York. And at many times before this DeGrom Koufaxian run, there was a period where Syndergaard was looked at as being the man. This would be a move. I don't think it would cost a haul. I think if we can acquire Syndergaard and Castillo, that their stuff, because they're power pitchers, usually translates better in the postseason than these finesse pitchers. I like Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery, I don't want to see him pitching in a game 4 or a game 7 in the postseason. He's not built for that. He's not that kind of pitcher. He's very reminiscent. This is for old school Yankee fans like me and Frank. He's a Ted Lilly. He's got that journeyman finesse. Like, he's never going to be a number 1. He's a 3 or a 4 that's going to hang around because he's a lefty. The teams need left-handed starters. That's Jordan Montgomery. He's never going to lead you to the promised land. Guys like Syndergaard and Castillo, when they're on, they have lights-out stuff that translates in the postseason when you need it the most. And I would rather take my shots with a rotation, a 4-man rotation of Cole, Castillo, Severino, and Syndergaard, because I'm going to throw Tyone out as well. Tyone is very much the right-handed Jordan Montgomery. And I don't think Tyone's going to hold up the whole year. He's always injured, and he's going to be taxed. This would also allow you to move Domingo Germán to the bullpen, where he's probably better suited coming off of his injuries, not pitching a lot over the last couple of years. And you can have a bullpen where you can throw Loaizaga, who I hope he finds his stuff. But at least you would have Germán, who you know will probably pitch well out of the bullpen because his stuff would translate out of there. Plus, you'd take away 2 of his pitches. Hey, throw a fastball and off speed. You have David Robertson, who we said that they should get. And you have Clay Holmes has been one of the best closers in the game this year. Your thoughts on these moves? Your thoughts on Syndergaard? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it as far as power pitching is what plays big in October. Power starting pitching and power bullpen, which everybody's got power bullpen arms these days. But ever since the Royals 2015 kind of rode their bullpen to a title, I would say that Syndergaard's postseason tested. It's not like he had an injury, but it's not like he was devastating. He's doing a solid job, on a terrible team.
Yep.
He does have something to prove. Has pitched in New York before. Don't think you'd be scared by it, obviously.
No, he has the moxie and the confidence to take the ball. That's not the question.
Yeah.
The question is, I kind of like the move because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I almost feel like he would want to go to a place where he can show other clubs, even the Yankees, hey, I'm a big game pitcher. This is why you go out and pay someone like me $20+ million a year, because I'm going to overpower people in October because I have that kind of stuff. And I think a change of scenery would help him and help his fortunes and fortune, pun on pun, in the future. What I'm trying to pull up, I have Baseball Reference pulled up, is his postseason pitching lines. He's got a win in the World Series. Well, no, he's got a loss in the World Series against Kansas City. But he didn't pitch poorly. He pitched 7 innings, 6 innings, seven strikeouts. But he pitched in the 2015 playoffs. He had some great performances. I honestly, even in his losses in the postseason, I'll give you the loss against San Francisco in 2016, where the Mets decided not to hit. He had 7 innings of 2-hit ball, 10 strikeouts. And that's at the age of 23 years old. When he was 22 against the Dodgers, game that the first game he got bombed. But then he came out of the bullpen and won a game. So he's already been there. He's already been in the postseason. He's pitched in crucial games in September. The worst case scenario for any of these guys is that they become a bullpen arm. And I don't think with Castillo that's going to be the case. Castillo's been pitching really well each start so far this year. He's been building up. Who would be your pickups? Who would be your pickups for the Yankees?
Okay. Yeah. But thanks for bringing up Syndergaard. I'm not seeing a lot of people talking about him. I don't know if it's because they don't think the Angels are making any moves, but that's obviously something to keep in mind. I think Castillo, even though I've said in the past, I don't think there's anybody that's out there right now that's like a slam dunk. It's not like you have a Max Scherzer on the market this year. Castillo is probably the best of what's available right now. I know a lot of Yankee fans might still be having PTSD a little bit over the Sonny Gray trade, but I don't think Castillo is that kind of a pitcher. He's very unique. His stuff is different, and it plays well. I think we've seen him here a couple weeks ago take out a really tough lineup and dominate.
Yeah.
And you're going to need that in the American League East. You're going to need that in the American League playoffs. Facing Toronto with tough hitters, facing Tampa, who's always tough. Obviously, the Astros were, that's beyond the point. We all know about that. But yeah, like he's an obvious case. They've been linked with him in the past, so I know they've been trying for a long time to get him. So they're obviously very impressed.
And he's building back his arm strength. So people are going to look at, he's only throwing, a little under 95 miles per hour. He threw 98. The guy didn't pitch for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's going to build himself back up, and he's got to build his confidence back up. We've seen what Matt Blake has done with worse talent. Okay. No one thought Jordan Montgomery could pitch to an under 4 ERA. Tyone was a project, very much a project. Severino, all these guys Nestor Cortez, we've left him out. I left him out of even our postseason rotation. The reason why I left him out is because this guy's never pitched this many innings. Eventually, something's going to have to give. He's probably going to be in the bullpen. You can't have Nestor Cortez as your number 2 starter in the postseason. The Cinderella story is eventually the shoe's going to fall off. We've seen this before. We've seen Yankee legends like Aaron Small and Sean Chacon and who else? Think of these guys that have come out of nowhere for the Yankees, pitching wise.
Yeah, you brought a couple good ones. Even that year they had Cologne, and he had a good little run. Now he wasn't as good, obviously, as maybe but he had that same vein. The year they had Freddie Garcia looked like he was doing good for a while, then he kind of flamed out. Cortez's going to wind up in the bullpen, like you said. He could be a valuable piece of the bullpen in October, provided he doesn't burn out. Tyone, I think we've seen the same thing 2 years in a row. He had a really good first half, hit a wall, seemed very gassed. In his case, he hasn't looked the same since his near perfect game.
No.
And we've talked in the past about leaving guys in too long or guys stressed. We talked about Kluber last year. He didn't get injured, but I think something was sent off after that night. I don't know.
And I think Nestor Cortez and Montgomery and Tyone, their best role in the postseason would be that we need multiple innings, or this is our emergency in case, God forbid, one of our starters gets smacked in the beginning. They just don't have their stuff.
Yeah, he kind of like we talked in a couple episodes ago about Ramiro Mendoza, what his role was. Spot starter, multiple innings, sometimes short relief. Not everybody translates to the bullpen that's a starter. We can talk about J Happ a couple years ago. Let's not talk about J Happ a couple years ago. But like the innings alone is what's going to shut down Nestor. And he had a nice bounce back last couple games. The other day he threw a really nice game in Baltimore. What we've gotten out of him, we can't. We must take as a blessing. Matt Blake has worked wonders so far. Maybe this catching duo we can even talk about. We've talked about in the past. Trevino and Higgy, how they work with these pitchers. You can't never have enough pitching, as they always say. And adding, one or even two good arms in this rotation, this slot behind Cole.
Yep.
It's a slam dunk. You got to do it. Obviously, in October, you got to pitch. You got to hit in clutch times, too. That's another thing they've had trouble in October's past. But as long as you got guys out there that can hold down these other teams and turn into a battle of the bullpens, when they're right, we'll see, obviously. But early this year, the reason why the Yankees have won so many games so far was their bullpen. And obviously, it's burnt out a little bit because over time that's going to happen. But I do think it's important to get multiple arms right now. We're talking relievers, starters, whatever you want to say. That should be their main focus. Obviously, Juan Soto's a dream, and you don't ever say, I'm not going to think about that. But their biggest issue right now is the durability in the rotation and the bullpen. They are taxed right now. The hitters will come out of their slumps. I believe in them.
Oh, yeah.
A little healthy. I'm not really worried about the offense. They're still going to score a lot of runs. They've been in every game that they've even lost. They're not getting blown out. But you want to have your guys that can go out there and give you 5 innings, 6 innings at least. We can't have, the last 2 nights we had Jordan give us, 2.1. Herman did a decent job yesterday getting into the 5th inning. But he's not a guy that you have a lot of confidence as a long-term starter. He's kind of like you said, he's better set to be a reliever. If he's ever going to be anything, it's going to be out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
So,
and the Yankees have this hesitation, and they've had this hesitation since Jabba Chamberlain of taking a guy and flipping their roles and then trying to flip them back. But I would rather take one of these starters and make them a reliever at this point.
Yeah. Look what we just lost Mike King, but look what he's done. Look what he did.
Yep.
And the temptation would be there. Let's put him as he could be a good starter. I'm like, some guys, start off look at Mo.
Yep.
He was he would have been a bomb of the pack starting pitcher. It turned out to be the greatest relief pitcher possibly of all time. It's definitely the best closer.
Possibly.
I'm trying to be a little nice here. I don't want to, I'm sure
possibly. The guy was
he's the greatest guy who ever did what he did. That's it.
100% of the Hall of Fame vote. I
don't care what kind of flack we get from anybody in the past, but yeah.
Look, him and Jeter should have both got 100%. The one writer who screwed Derek Jeter over, that was crazy.
Maybe he just wanted that attention because now people always remember his name. But I can't imagine as far as Mariano, what is your argument for him not being in the Hall of Fame? I'd like to hear it.
He's a closer.
Oh, that's great. Only
Um,
but yeah,
you
like
brought up an interesting name, Juan Soto. It seems like we've eliminated a bunch of teams that we talked about, including the Yankees, off of the pursuit of Juan Soto. It seems like what the Nationals really want. I heard a report the other day that they wanted 6 of the top prospects of any club. That is a very high asking price. You are not going to get 6. And I get asking high and negotiating from there, but they're certainly not going to get 6. So going by that in needs, it seems like the St. Louis Cardinals, San Diego Padres are the front runners to land Juan Soto. Um, it's a very interesting move. I'll talk about the Padres first. I think I hit on it last show. If I didn't, or if I did, I'm just gonna say it again. You're gonna grab Juan Soto. You're gonna put him in the outfield. Great, that's great because they had designs of putting Fernando Tatis in the outfield. That's how bad their outfield production has been this year. And you don't want Tatis playing the outfield, especially learning a new position. I mean, he's athletic enough to get it done, but you just don't want to, mess with that. The Padres have had this almost big market feel because they've signed some pretty big contracts with some free agents, and some have worked out, some haven't. But if they were to re-sign or extend Juan Soto to the deal that I think Juan Soto should get, it just makes Tatis look really dumb for signing the deal that he did. Because basically, Tatis signed the deal that Soto rejected. He signed that long-term security deal, not going to get paid in the future as high as your other contemporaries. I don't know how that's going to work in the clubhouse. They'll say, oh, we're all friends, this, that, the Latin, Dominican thing. I don't know if that's going to work. How do you feel like of that fit there in San Diego? I just think it's too much. I think it's too much ego there.
I agree there. Yeah, 100%. That would be very tough to reconcile unless Tatis is the greatest teammate of all time.
And you've seen Machado and Tatis go at it too.
Yeah. A lot of egos in there. I mean, obviously he's a great fit as far as on field, but there's some other stuff to take into account. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, because the Nationals have set this so high, and understandably so, do they really want to move him this year? I mean, obviously they're going to get the highest probably return the earlier they do it, but it seems like the way they're pricing themselves out of the market, I don't know if they're just hoping to get a few extra things as somebody. I can't see.
I'm confused.
Giving up their top 6 prospects.
What's weird is they want players that are pretty much almost ready to play or high-level prospects.
Right.
Or, a Gleyber Torres type guy who's controllable for the next couple of years as a, replacement plug-and-play guy. That's why I think for Juan Soto, for baseball, for everything, the best fit for him would be the Cardinals. He would slide right into that spot, face of the franchise. Because Paul Goldschmidt just goes about his business. He's not like the face of the franchise guy, unfortunately. And he might win the National League MVP this year. I mean, he's probably the leader in the clubhouse right now. But The Cardinals always have a good farm system. They always have. I don't know what it is, but they always have outfield bats that they can trade. But getting Juan Soto sets them up for the future because next year they're not going to have a Pujols. They're not going to have Yadier. They're not going to have Wainwright. They're not going to have the staples that the Cardinals fans are used to seeing. They have a new face of the franchise. Paul Goldschmidt's 34, 35 years old. He's getting up there in age. You would have Soto, Edman, Arenado. This year with Goldschmidt. I mean, that's a win now nucleus, but also they're setting themselves up for the future. I think that trade makes more sense than a Padres trade. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that there's a reason why all the insiders are pegging St. Louis as the most likely spot for him. He would obviously, like you just said, he'd become the face of the franchise immediately. You market your team around him. And obviously, I think they would look to sign him long term. Although I do think he intends to at least wait a little while before he does that, or maybe he does want to actually reach free agency. That'd be the smart thing to do. But wouldn't say they wouldn't re-sign him there. As far as any other teams, we talked about San Diego. Obviously, the Dodgers are always going to come up. The Yankees are always going to come up. You'd be an idiot not to do your due diligence here. As far as under the radar teams, I don't know if you have anybody on your mind that nobody's talking about. Nobody.
No one.
No one.
I actually have a team that's going to be a team to watch as a seller because they just played some of the worst baseball that they've ever played as a franchise. I think you know where I'm headed with this.
Yeah.
The Boston Red Sox. Why is it? And I just can't understand. It seems like the Red Sox are a good team every other year now. Mm-hmm. They can't string it together for multiple seasons in a row. They have a tendency to have a good year and a bad year, a good year and a bad year. They have the same manager this year. It wasn't like they had a good year. What are they going to fire Alex Cora at the end of the year? That's not going to work. They don't have pitching. They let our Eduardo Rodriguez go. Not saying he was, the end all be all. They let him go. Chris Sale's been hurt. Nathan Eovaldi's always hurt. They signed him to a big money deal. What really irks me and bothers me is they let Mookie Betts walk out the door, basically. They traded him. They got Alex Verdugo. They got a couple nice pieces back for him. Certainly not to the level of Mookie Betts. They let him go. It seems like they signed Trevor Story as the replacement to Xander Bogaerts because they have no plans, it looks like, to re-sign Xander Bogaerts. And on top of that, I'm hearing that they don't have plans to resign or extend Rafael Devers. I do not know where this franchise is going. Is it a money thing now with them? Help me sort this out, Frank, because it bothers me. And I shouldn't care that the Red Sox are bad, but I like the rivalry when the Red Sox are a good team. I like it when every team in the American League East is competitive. You don't know how much it bothers me when those teams are bad because the Yankees will end up winning 105 games and then going into the postseason, and then they actually have to face a good team, and they're out. They're out in the first round. Why? Because they played 64 games against bad competition during the regular season. What's your thoughts on the Red Sox, the direction, the franchise? What can you make of this? It seems like a game of Jenga. It's really confusing here.
It is, and this is going back over a decade too. 10 years ago, they were dead last in the AL East, and then the next year they win the World Series. The next year after that, they're back out of the playoffs. Next year, it's just this roller coaster. And
they've fired GMs.
Yeah, they fired
president.
GMs, they fired managers, they let Mookie Betts walk away for practically nothing. They're apparently going to do the same thing with Bogarts because I'm seeing like there's this reluctance to trade him. Like, what are you going to hold on to him for the rest of the year for what? And I don't know what their plans are. It just doesn't make any sense, and it is hard to see. We're even taking a Yankee fan out of it as a baseball fan. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
A team that's got so much of a following, they're always selling the place out. I don't see why you can't at least have the illusion that you're competing here, and you're just throwing out like so. You're putting a product in the field. Of all complaints we've had over the last couple weeks, the Yankees have started like seeing all these crazy takes on Twitter. That this past weekend, even that Friday night, against the Blue Jays, my God,
yep.
It was such a crazy. Nobody can believe the score. I had people that don't even know baseball like, what's that score? I mean, it literally came up the other night while I was listening to the post wrestling. They actually brought up, oh my God, did you see the Toronto score? Since the guys are from Toronto, they actually said, wow. It was like, I think even McAfee brought it up on SmackDown commentary. You looked to see the score as well. It was literally transcending different sports, social media, just looking at the score. And then you actually watched what happened. And I think John Boy earlier put out a breakdown of that Friday night game. What is going on in their outfield?
Jarren Duran. This is a bad sign when you have a rookie. I'm sorry to cut you off, but this angered me to the point where I'm obviously, for those that only watch this show and don't know me from other things, I'm a big baseball card collector. I took all my Jarren Duran cards and I put them on eBay, and I said, "Take me." He basically, for those that don't know, Tapia hits a ball. Duran loses it in the outfield. It's the second time in the week this has happened to a Boston outfielder. But at least Verdugo didn't give up on the ball. Duran sees the ball land, doesn't move, waits for the left fielder to grab the ball. By that time, all this happens. It's an inside the park grand slam. My immediate reaction is, Alex Cora, why in the hell are you not pulling this man out of the game? Why do you not pull Duran out of the game? Billy Martin style, Buck Showalter style. I go down the managers that have done this and go, hey, you're that's the effort you're gonna give because you couldn't track down the ball. Your ass is sitting on the bench, kid. It's unbelievable.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's not even the fact that you said he dropped the ball. He didn't even attempt to go after it. At least when Verdugo was a couple weeks ago when the ball in the Yankee game, they at least went after the ball. He went up throwing Joey Gallo at home. He didn't even attempt, and then Verdugo had to run up all the way across the field. He did an incredible job catching up to it. And I think the worst thing is, this is with 2 outs, mind you guys. 2 outs in the inning. The last out of the inning, okay, you dropped it. You cannot allow 3 runs to score and a drop pop-up. Going back to, I'll bring up the original Luis Castillo, the Yankee rivalry with the Mets, dropping a ball and 2-run score. That's because he threw the ball into second for God knows what reason. But this is literally a grand slam on a pop-up. Even if it dropped in, like if you didn't lose the ball. If he had just at least went over to the ball, I don't think all 4 runs were going to score. At the worst, he might have been second and third there. And then this is followed up, mind you guys. I want to bring up something else. In a later inning, I forget how many runs the Blue Jays wound up scoring with 2 outs. I think 11. I want to say same amount of number off of another drop pop up in the infield because nobody could. It was because nobody decided they wanted to call for the ball. We've seen this happen before. And then another like a little swinging bunt that was thrown away. So, like, while the score was crazy, yes, but like literally most of these runs were either unearned or they should have been, because it's like the most. And I'm not a baseball player, I'm not an athlete, but God, you can't be on the field like you said.
I don't understand why Duran wasn't benched and then immediately sent back down to AAA.
Yeah, I mean, we remember a couple years ago, Gary Sanchez didn't run out a ball like at the end of a game against the Rays, and they wound up losing. He beat out. He could have beat out infield single, and it turned out he was actually hurting. We had like headlines for days over this. I don't know what the headlines in Boston are saying, but how this guy is in like on the first flight back to AAA, if that. God, talk about lack of hustle.
He said, "I just lost it in the twilight. It's the most helpless feeling you could ever feel. As for why he didn't hustle to get to the ball when he noticed where it landed, Duran said left fielder Verdugo was closer to the ball and he didn't want to get in the way."
That's about as ridiculous as trying to listen to Aaron Boone defend pinch hitting Joey Gallo the other night. Actually, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. The time in the playoffs 2 years ago, Game 5 against the Rays, when he pinch hit Mike Ford, everybody on Twitter had a heart attack. That makes more sense than what you just said.
The quote also says, "Doogie was right there already. Obviously, I should have taken a step or two." Oh, no, really, you should have taken a step.
He was not there. He was there already. If you watch the video, you see him running in, but it's not for like 4 or 5 seconds. I mean, I don't know exact timing.
They're looking at each other.
They're looking at each other like, and Verdugo's looking at him like, aren't you supposed? You can see it in his face. Aren't you supposed to chase this ball, dude?
But he was already going to beat me to the ball, so I just didn't want to get in his way. What if I sprinted and collided with him or something like, you know what? I want you to sprint and collide with him because that shows that you care.
Right. And if you give it, and if he scored on that, okay, at least you tried. I don't know. He just froze. He just got scared. I don't know what it was in his head. You can't really justify that. I don't even know why he attempted to justify it. But going back as a whole, is looking at this situation. The Red Sox should be selling whoever they can right now. Obviously, with the third wild card, yeah, you could have a chance. But what exactly are you playing for at this point? You have no pitching. Your defense is atrocious, beyond atrocious. It's not it this year.
Baltimore is a better team than them at this point.
100%. Baltimore is very tough, and in general, they're better than a lot of bad teams. Baltimore is actually a pretty good team right now.
So your 3 wild card teams in the American League, presently standing: Toronto, Seattle, and Tampa Bay.
Right.
Tampa Bay has got a lot of injuries. They just put Kiermaier on season-ending IL and Mike Zunino. They are hurting. That entire team is hurting. Wander Franco's been out basically the whole year. Right. They're not getting production from the guys they thought they would get production from. I actually see them sliding. You have, within shouting distance, Cleveland's 2 games back. You have Baltimore 3 games back. And the White Sox somehow, because we have 3 wildcard teams, 3.5 back. And then the Red Sox are 4. So the Red Sox are in this weird spot of, if we sell, what are we telling our fan base? But you're already telling your fan base you're probably not bringing back Bogarts, so you might as well trade him. You have Jeter Downs, you have Trevor Story. Just put them in the infield. Put Trevor Story at short, Downs at second or third, whatever you're going to do. I would field the calls for Devers. They need pitching. They need starting pitching. And it's really weird because if you look at payrolls, right? Boston Red Sox. Nathan Eovaldi makes $17 million a year. He's one of the highest paid players on the team. Chris Sale makes like 30. So they have like a $200 million payroll. They have 2 pitchers that take up 25% of their payroll, and they've gotten basically nothing from them this year. And beyond that, they really have no other pitchers. So they need pitching. It seems like in their minor league system, they're developing bats. They're going to have to go out and either sign pitchers in this offseason, or they're going to have to trade Devers and trade Bogarts to get pitching. Do it now. You're not, even if they somehow miraculously made the playoffs, they will not last through the wild card play-in games. They're not going to last. Trade them. Yeah. Very interesting. Who's the number one team payroll this year?
Then one team payroll in the league or in baseball?
Yeah, in baseball.
Baseball, not the Dodgers, right?
Yep, it's the Dodgers.
The Dodgers? Okay, I thought so. I know the Mets are getting up there, but the Dodgers, I know, are over.
So the Dodgers are $261 million.
Right.
The Mets are at number 2. They have $259 million in salary. The Yankees are at number 3. 254. The Phillies are at number 4. 233 million. The Padres, remember what I said earlier, they're very much a big market team that no one realizes that they're a big market team. They're sitting at $217 million. The Boston Red Sox, who sell out almost every single game, they have fans constantly there that wearing their jerseys, uniforms. $203 million. In what world do we live in where the San Diego Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies are outspending the Boston Red Sox? It does not make sense to me.
And they, in this offseason, they didn't really do much. I know they had a nice run last year to the LCS, and they actually, played well against the Astros. And then I don't know, what was their big move this offseason?
Trevor Story.
Trevor Story, right? Other than that, but did they address what the real? I said obviously they thought that they were doing. Clearly, that's a sign. Okay, we're signing him because we're not signing Bogarts. I get that. That was their big move. They did nothing to improve the pitching
because they were going to sign either Correa or Story.
Sign Story, but they didn't do anything else. And the pitching, as we said, Eovaldi can be a good pitcher, always hurt.
Yeah,
not reliable. Sale, unfortunately, has become that over the last throughout his Red Sox tenure, he's actually been very unreliable as far as injury-wise, and he's making that kind of money. But I just don't know what they did to improve. And they thought this was enough. And this year, and this whole year, if not for that torrid June they had, they would have been. They'd still be in last place. It'd be a lot worse.
Yeah, the last 4 years. I mean, you could essentially say Chris Sale hasn't pitched for the Red Sox. I mean, 2019 he pitched for them, didn't pitch effectively at 25 starts, 4.40 ERA. He was 6-11. It was a really bad year. And then he missed all of 2020 because I believe he was hurt. Yeah. Either that or he opted out. I forget off the top of my head. 2021, he only made 9 starts. This year, he's only made 2 starts. They backed the wrong horse.
I think,
the Red Sox fans will be like, well, he did get us a World Series in 2018, so we'll deal with it. But I have this issue now with paying players based on past performances. This guy, I think his career is done as a starting pitcher. He may have to be a reliever. He may have to become John Smoltz, where it's just not in the cards for him anymore to be a starter. But they have that problem with their two highest paid starting pitchers, because you could say the same thing about Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Eovaldi, like you can say that about Eovaldi, his whole career. Even when the Yankees took a chance on him, he had a decent season, and then at the end of the year when they needed him the most, where was he? On the disabled list. I mean, they had that one World Series almost incredulously, I'll say, because that team won a lot of games, and on paper it didn't make a lot of sense, but it's just one of those things that happened. But it seems like since then they're like, oh, we did that, so now we really don't have to do too much. We won 108 games with a team like that, and now we'll plug in this guy, we'll do this. You're not going to get pitching when you play in Fenway Park.
Yep.
You need pitching. It's a tough place to play in. You got to get some power pitching, some pitching that can keep the ball in the park, because it's very easy to put it out there. As much as flack as Yankee Stadium gets, Fenway Park is not a pitcher friendly park. You got to get some guys in there that can at least do that. You can't. You can hit all you want, but they're not doing that either right now.
Sale makes $30 million this year. He makes 27.5 next year in 2023, and in 2024 the same dollar amount.
That contract, I mean, when they initially traded for him, one thing, but that contract they signed with him, that's, if not for that World Series, and I guess that's what they're going to use to justify it, he's pretty much a higher paid Carl Pavano. I said it.
It's true. We do have the trade deadline coming up on the 2nd, which is
next Tuesday. Sister's birthday. Shout out to Paul.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably come on live during the deadline, or when the deadline's about to pass, and do like a little live show. And then probably after that day, as long as Frank's schedule's open, we'll probably record an episode or do something.
Yeah. It's a very interesting deadline. I think one of the more interesting one in recent memory. Obviously, with the expanded wild card, we have more teams in the mix. We have several teams that are selling. We have several teams that should be selling. We'll see about that. Well, yeah. Obviously, the first smart move happened last night, and as far from the last, I don't know if everything's going to come down to that last day, although I do see a lot of teams, because of the amount of teams that are in on buying, they may wait it out longer, like the Reds seem to be doing right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw any big moves like this weekend. What those are, I can't say, but I do expect something to drop.
Yeah, before we leave, I'm just reading into this Chris Sale contract a little bit deeper. They signed this extension right after the World Series. So, hey, you won the World Series, so we feel the need to re-sign you.
Oh, that's right. It was after. Yeah, I take that back. He is pretty much Carl Pavano.
So,
sorry, guys. Sorry to insult Pavano by insinuating that contract won the World Series. But go ahead.
Where is... Let me bring it up on the screen, because there's some crazy stuff in this contract.
And not to mention, before he got injured again, that incident in the clubhouse a couple weeks ago.
Oh God,
guy's a little.
You know what though? I like the fire. I mean,
I do.
Jaron Duran did nothing. He was like, oh, okay, whatever.
I hope he did that. Maybe Alex Corey did behind closed doors. I don't know. I imagine he enjoyed that.
So he's an opt-out after this year. Obviously, he's not going to opt out because he's been duty.
27.
Full no trade clause. So that can't trade him. Look at this. Look at this little kicker.
Oh.
$50 million deferred at $10 million per year from 2035 through 2039. Wow.
Bonnie action there. on the short term. But wow,
Crazy.
and look at these, like the next year, 27. After that, another 27.
I mean, this is a vesting option.
20. Yeah,
Vested
obviously that's
option.
not going to happen, but still, he's going to be the highest paid relief pitcher, or one of the highest paid relief pitchers there ever been.
It's insane.
Pretty sure necessity. Ooh.
Appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you have comments, let us know. If you want us to talk about some other stuff, let us know. Whatever it is, this is the baseball only show. We're here for you. We're here to talk baseball. We love to talk baseball. Baseball is life. Frank, we should arrange something for the trade deadline. We'll do that after the show. We're trying to get to 400 subscribers. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, do us the favor, subscribe. You'll get this content. You'll get my pre-show breaking content for other YouTubers. You will get the wrestling content, which I think Frank might possibly joining us on Saturday for some of that as well. We appreciate it. Frank, parting words for the audience.
Well, all I can say is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We're just getting started here this Major League season.
Yes.
So dream big, everybody. Unless you're a Red Sox fan.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm talking impassioned about the Red Sox, and I shouldn't. But it just bewilders me because I take it from a fan perspective of what's going on here. I'd be so upset if I was a Red Sox fan.
They're hardcore supporters, like you said. They they breathe baseball. Anytime I've been at a game and chatted with some of them, we may have our differences, but one thing, they love baseball, and I know it hurts to see bad baseball in the field.
Boston, New England, they are all about their sports. 100%. Not just one, but all four major sports they thrive in that area. Basketball, baseball, football, and even hockey.
Sure.
The Red Sox organization knows this. They need to put a competitive team on the field. What are we doing? We've talked enough about the Red Sox. We'll probably talk more about them via the trade deadline. So be on alert on Tuesday. I will go live at 3 Eastern because I'm sure the trade deadline is at 4 Eastern. So I'll go an hour before the deadline ends. Hopefully some trades have been done. And then we'll probably record an episode later that day to talk about what went down, the winners and losers of the deadline. The huge. JML here signing off. Frank there also signing off. As I usually say, good night and good luck. Keep well, stay well, live well. Peace.